Welcome to Haunted Hospitality, Southern Stories Told by Spooky Gingers. I'm Robin.
And I'm Zoe, and I have a story for you today. But first, Robin, how's life?
It's good. I'm living, I'm breathing, which is the goal.
Right, yeah, all shockers, honestly, though.
Yes.
I had no idea you were doing all of that. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. Well, I've been working on my multitasking, and I think it's really showing.
Yeah. Have you worked in blinking yet? That was the hardest part for me.
See, the thing is, I think I do overkill on that because I've looked at videos of myself, and it turns out I blink all the damn time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I had the opposite problem. I just never blinked, and people were like, you're scaring me. Please blink.
I feel like you and I could just combine to make a normal human being.
Or the worst human being imaginable.
Oh, it really depends on what traits they inherit. Oh my god, what if it was like one eye never blinked and then the other was just blink, 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 blink all the time?
That's terrifying.
I know. So that's how my life's going. What about you?
So I asked Kari, my boyfriend, love him very much.
Ooh la la.
I know. He's very supportive. He doesn't give a shit about ghosts, essentially, right? And so I asked him, I was like, so do you believe in ghosts? Well, first, honestly, my first question was, hey, will you listen to my podcast? And he said, yes. So
well, that was very nice of him.
Yes, we
have one listener down pat.
Woo! Anyway, so yes, he said that he would. So I asked him if he believes in ghosts, and he said no. And I was like, okay, cool. You don't believe in ghosts. Cool, whatever, right? And then I was like, well, Robin and I want to eventually, once this whole corona thing's figured out, we want to go, on ghost tours. Would you come with us? And he's like, hell no. And
what?
I was like, but you don't believe in them. And he says, he was stammering a little bit, and he's like, and I was like, is that white people shit? And he's like, he laughed, and he's like, no, yes, no. And so his explanation is that the closest thing he would want to do with a ghost is play Boo in Mario Kart.
So, okay, I'm just trying to think of his logic. He doesn't believe in ghosts.
No.
But he also doesn't want to go on a ghost tour.
Yes.
For the unacknowledged fear that he might interact with a ghost.
He's like,
we got your number.
Ghosts can do their own thing, haunt someone else. They're not going to haunt me. And also, I don't believe in them.
I feel like those are two things you can't believe at the same time.
Yeah.
But I also very much identify with that idea.
But yeah, so I wanted to give that little update. It gave me a little giggle.
That's hilarious. I also think, ghost tours aren't... it depends on which one you go on.
Right,
But they don't have to be as spooky as all that. Most of the time, they're very touristy.
Yeah.
But every now and then you get a really cool one. I recommend the Charleston Jail Tour.
Right, which
Zoe,
we did not do.
But we should have, because I always get confused. There's, either 2 or 3 tours in Charleston. There's a whole bunch, but I'm talking about 2 or 3 in particular. And I'm, always confused if there's a dungeon, and then there's a provost, and then there's a jail. And I always think, I've done this twice, where I pick out what I think is the spookiest one, or supposed to be, and it gets me right back to this, really dull one, where you go in and it's just pirate mannequins, which is what happened when you and I went that one weekend.
The stories were cool, but I feel like there was 0 chance of us actually seeing a ghost.
Exactly.
I want to go somewhere where I'd actually see a ghost.
I would love... I don't know. I kind of want to, and I don't want to, and I don't know if I already have. One of those things?
Yeah.
Have sleep paralysis. You'll see them.
Anyway. No, thank you. So, for our something southern.
Yeah.
So, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of behind the stage peek. Robin and I record 2 episodes every time we meet up. So we post weekly, but we'll meet up every other week. That way Robin tells a story, I tell a story, but it's 2 different episodes. So we were like, oh, let's come up with something southern for the next episode. And so I was like, okay, cool. Here's this one, Southern death rituals or Southern death things. And Robin's like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then last night I text Robin, hey, we need to come up with another something Southern. And she's like, crickets. So she thought I was speaking generally.
Yeah, I completely forgot that, like, okay, we are recording 2 episodes, and therefore we need two something Southerns.
So, something Southern today is going to be who can make the best fake Southern accent. So we have to pick a phrase.
Yes, we have to pick a phrase. And
We're
also,
both going to say the phrase, and the audience will vote on who does the Southern accent the best.
Wait, how do they vote? Do they... Oh, hey,
we can do a poll on Twitter.
Yeah, okay, we're going to do a Twitter poll. We're deciding our social media strategy on the air. We're going to do a Twitter poll at Haunted Hosts.
Yes, at Haunted Hosts.
So, okay, first off, I do want to say... there is no such thing as a singular Southern accent. It is varied. Now, as a person who has grown up all along the South, who has family all along the South, can I tell where a Southern accent is from? No, I can't. So I am going to do a generic Southern accent because I don't know otherwise how to do it.
And I've been told I'm fairly accentless. At least I was when I was younger. I think I've picked up a little bit of a Southern accent as I grew older. But...
I never noticed how I had a Southern accent in any kind of realm, or how people around me did, until I moved to North Carolina, where it felt so much, at least the city I was in, the people I was in, because they kind of came from all over, the people I was in.
Yeah, I was about to comment on that.
The people I was around, because we were there for a grad school program, came from all over. That was when I realized a lot of things that were distinctly Southern about my voice or about other people's voices that I hadn't noticed before.
Right. And I remember going up to Massachusetts and I would be like, hey, can I get this at a restaurant, right? And they'd be like, oh, honey, you're not from around here. Except that's a very Southern accent. I don't know what I was doing. But they'd say it in a North accent. Like...
What's a North accent?
Look, I can do park the car and have a dad go to a bar, buy a beer, give them in a quarter. But I... can't just speak in a Northern accent.
My mind has been very quietly blown just now.
But they would always be like, oh, you're not from around here. And I would be like, no, can I have the food, please? Yeah. And so I don't know if that was because I have a Southern accent, as I just accidentally did. I don't know. We're talking about accents, and so now my voice is doing weird things.
I'm noticing that, yeah. Stop being self-aware. We have to... We can only become self-aware during the whatever sentence we decide to say.
Right. But I don't know if it was my lack of Northern accent or my act of having a Southern accent. So, what phrase do we want to say?
I don't want to say something necessarily that's generically Southern.
So... I would argue that we might want to do the park the car comment that I just did. So the full phrase is park the car in Harvard Yard, go to a bar, buy a beer, give the man a quarter.
And this is like a Northern phrase.
Yeah. So to say it with a Northern accent, you say park the car in Harvard Yard, go to a bar, buy a beer, give the man a quarter.
Park the car in Harvard Yard, buy a beer.
Park the car in Harvard Yard, go to a bar, buy a beer, give the man a quarter.
This is a lot. Park the car in Harvard Yard, buy a beer. No. Park the car in
Okay, we cannot even say that. Let's...
Park the car in Harvard Yard, go to the bar, buy a beer, and give the man a quarter.
Yes.
Okay.
So
now we have to...
say it in a Southern accent. Okay, maybe we shouldn't do that because I'm just going to start going pack the car.
I think you're really going to revert there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what should we do instead? Why don't we just say, or ordered a Big Mac at McDonald's, but he gave me a chicken sandwich.
I ordered a Big Mac at McDonald's, but he gave me a chicken sandwich.
Yes.
Okay.
I ordered a Big Mac at McDonald's, but he gave me a chicken sandwich. Okay, I'm trying to decide what Southern route to go. Okay. Who wants to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Well, I bought a Big Mac at McDonald's, but it gave me a chicken sandwich.
Okay. Yeah, mm-hmm. That's good. Okay. Oh, honey.
Oh, God. We're going for, like, legit Southern accent, not like, okay. Ooh, you know, it says, oh, honey.
Oh, honey.
Oh, my God.
I ordered a Big Mac at the McDonald's.
I didn't say at the McDonald's.
At McDonald's.
But he gave me a chicken sandwich. It's a lot simpler than what you told me to remember.
Right. I don't know if I can do a Southern accent. Hold on. Southern.
There's a lot of different options. You can't do all of them at once.
I went to the McDonald's to buy a Big Mac, and they gave me a darn chicken sandwich.
Okay, cool.
There's my submission.
So if people could gather which one we were going with and all that, comment. No, don't comment on our Twitter poll.
Vote on the poll.
Vote on our Twitter poll. I mean, I guess you can comment and do whatever you want to do, but at least also vote in this Twitter poll.
Yes, vote.
To be honest, I'm going to be very offended if I don't win.
Yeah, I'd be a little confused if you don't win.
Okay.
So, like, I'm a mimic, so I would have to hear, like, a genuine Southern person say it.
I mean, I am a genuine Southern person, Zoey. You are, too. You've been here since you were 4.
Anyway. So that wraps up our Something Southern. Next time we'll be more plan ahead.
It's very possible it'll be more planned.
Maybe.
Hey! Guys, send us your ideas for what we should do for Something Southern.
Yes,
this
please.
would honestly help us out so much.
Please
And also send us, like, ideas for what you want us to do stories on in general. Just, like, give us all this, and we will, like, literally do whatever.
Yeah, and we'll mention you, too.
Yeah.
So, like, if you say, hey, my name is Joe Bob, Billy Bob, and I think you should do this for the Something Southern, we'll do it. I'm having fun now. I can just watch Robin dying inside. It's great.
Okay. So, Zoey, do you have a story for us this week?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay. So, my episode, so not last episode, but the previous episode.
In episode 2,
I did Asheville, North Carolina, which is where my father lives.
Shout out.
My mother's birthday was this past Tuesday. And
shout out.
Yes, and I think when I told her that I was doing an episode in Asheville, she got jealous. Sorry, Mom. And so she's like, you should do something in Wichita, Texas.
Why Wichita, Texas?
She was born in Wichita, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Also known as Wichita Falls, Texas? Maybe? Who knows? Anyway, I found Wichita, Texas, and Wichita Falls, Texas, and they were right next to each other, or they were the same thing. Who knows, honestly? But it was in the, like, area of the map that she would always point at me and say, your mommy was born there. So,
I love this.
yes. So, but the thing is, so I couldn't get enough information on one story to do a full episode. So, I have, like, 5 stories that I'm just gonna real quick go through.
Hit me.
That was beautiful. I did not actually hit her. For legal reasons, that was a joke.
She 100% hit me. I need some...
Okay. So the first one is going to be an honorable mention. It's called Pinky's Cave. I couldn't find any information on this, how it's haunted or anything. But every single time I Googled Wichita, Texas ghost, this would come up. And everybody was like, super haunted, uber haunted. The only thing I can tell that is haunted. So, okay, basically what Pinky's Cave is it's a 3-mile long drainage pipe ditch thing. And kids would hang out there. And, in 2016, 3 kids went into the tunnel at the top and traveled the full 3 miles down, and they were rescued by police at the end.
Oh, and I completely thought that story would have a different ending, given that it's haunted.
No, they were perfectly fine.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, they had scrapes and bruises, and they were admonished by the officials, but, nothing happened. And honestly, mostly homeless people and truant kids hang out there. So, the only thing haunted is, it'll say, a painted warning says, stop now or Pinky'll get ya. And I couldn't...
So who's Pinky?
I don't know.
Okay.
There was no information. Everybody's like, Pinky's Cave! But, the only quote-unquote ghost is that there's a story that a woman and her child drowned during the storm, and they watch for visitors now. So...
Could it be that one of them was Pinky?
I don't know. They seem to make Pinky out to be an evil beast or something. But I literally couldn't find any information. But I feel like if we were releasing this to some Wichita Texans, they would be upset if I didn't mention it. So.
She's mentioning it.
I am mentioning it.
For all you Wichitaians.
Wichitaians. So there's 2 Witches Gates. Witches Gate 1 is a abandoned house. This house is private property, so please do not trespass. That was a warning on every single site.
Okay.
So it is near Henrietta. It's a burned down mansion, and there's a couple stories. One story was like this very rich mom and dad had 2 sons, and the dad left or died or something, and so the mom went crazy. So that's one story. Woo!
I feel like there's a lot to unpack there.
Right.
Okay.
So they said that she's a witch, essentially, and she died on the grounds. And then her 2 sons, who actually do exist, and I have the names for them, are Jim and Kenneth.
Those are solid names.
Yeah. So in 1975, so I said this is an abandoned house, but it's a burned down house. You can only see like the ground, like the layout of it, like where the
foundation?
walls, the foundation, but you can see where the walls are, and there's a couple like arches where the house doors were, because it was like a stone house.
Okay.
So it kind of looks like the stone place, Stonehenge. It kind of looks like Stonehenge, but a house.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
because I don't think of Stonehenge as looking anything like shelter.
Well, I mean, it's like a bunch of stones and arches.
Okay.
And it's in the layout of a house. So, in 1975, the two brothers, Jim and Kenneth, were living there. Jim is 61, Kenneth is 70. One of them never married, the other one married and got divorced, but they were both still very rich. And
that's what's important, kids.
Yes, that's what's important. While they were asleep, thieves broke in, and Kenneth heard gunshots and found his brother Jim shot in the back dead.
Wait, which one was Jim? Older or younger?
61-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah, so Kenneth's the older one. So the thieves that had shot Jim tied Kenneth up and tortured him to get into the safe. And so they got in, got the money, and then untied Kenneth, and then they were making their escape. And he managed to set the house on fire and killed all the thieves and himself and burned down the house. However...
How do you set a house on fire that quickly?
However...
Okay.
That was the legend that I found on one website. I think it was the Bull FM. Hold on, let me scroll down to my sources, because the Bull was... The Buzz, excuse me. 1063 The Buzz.
I would rather name a station that than the Bull.
But that was the main source of me getting these stories together. So, and then I did my own research outside of that to other places. But in that research that I did, because the story that the Buzz had didn't have their names or their ages, and it actually said that the older brother was the one who died, not the younger brother who was shot. But when I actually found a news article from the brothers, like the actual events that happened. So it's true that...
Primary sources, guys.
Yeah. So it's true that Kenneth investigated gunshots and found Jim shot in the back, and that the thieves tortured him to get into the safe. But instead of untying him and then him setting the whole house on fire and killing everyone, they actually took the money and left. Kenneth was able to untie himself and drove to a nearby truck stop and called the police. And so after the thieves were actually looking for a coin collection that Kenneth had already donated. So they didn't even have they weren't even able to get the money that they wanted.
And he donated it?
Yeah.
That's nice.
To a local museum. Because, I mean, he was old without kids, you know?
I mean, he was like 61. It's not like... I mean...
Yeah.
It's not that old.
Okay.
My dad's like 60.
Oh.
My parents...
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Anyway. So all 4 thieves were caught. But so one of them was arrested prior to the other 3, and Kenneth moved out of the house because he was an old man by himself. So when one of the thieves was arrested, the others torched the house and burned it down. And so
to hide evidence?
No, just out of anger because one of them was arrested.
Gotcha.
And so it was very clearly arson. Everybody in town knew it was arson, but it was never investigated.
Why wasn't it investigated?
Because they had already arrested the rest of the thieves by the time, like, they discovered the house was burned down. So, like, they were like, they're already getting sentenced, so It doesn't matter. But yeah, all 4 thieves were caught, and after just 6 minutes of deliberation, the jury sentenced the 3 that didn't pull the trigger to 20 years each. And the one that did pull the trigger, he shot Jim in the back while Jim was trying to run away. Mm-hmm. He got a life sentence. However, he was released 10 years after his sentence for poor health. And then he moved away, and then he was arrested again for other crimes before he passed away in 1983.
Wait, you can be let go from the prison system for poor health? Because don't they just take you through the hospital? I mean, I know prisons do that. They don't just stop.
I don't know. Maybe their argument was, oh, look, he's so sickly, he can't commit more crimes. But then he went to another town and committed more crimes. So, I don't know.
So wait, he ended up only serving 10 years.
Yes.
But the people who didn't shoot the guy ended up serving 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not great
and the
justice system.
And the thing is that Kenneth watched this guy be arrested for his brother's death. Mm-hmm. Watched him get out in 10 years. Watched him escape, go to another state and get arrested again for more crimes. And then he died before this other guy could die. There's some, poetic injustice there to me.
I've never heard the term poetic injustice, but I love it.
But, the brothers' ghosts are said to live in the... Yeah.
Fun.
So that's why it's called the Witch's Gate, because...
She's a witch.
The mom was the witch, and then their ghosts stay there. And apparently, the basement is always spotless. There's no dust, debris, or anything, even though nobody goes there. Nobody lives there. But the basement's always spotless. And
how do they know that the basement's spotless if nobody goes there?
Well, nobody goes there to clean it.
Oh, but people visit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's private property, so do not trespass.
Yes, don't go.
Also, when the sun sets on the horizon, it looks like the house is on fire again.
Ooh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, okay, from that story, I would be really interested to know about the mom.
Yeah, I couldn't find any more story on her.
She's the missing piece of this, but she's also the reason for the name.
Right.
And I doubt that it was a simple he left and so she went quote crazy. You know? We gotta get more perspectives on this, guys.
And I dug, but all I could find was the brother's story. So. If anyone knows.
Yeah, seriously, if anybody knows.
We can do flashback episodes, too, where if we learn, if we cover something and somebody's like, ooh, I have more information about that, we would love to do a flashback episode.
Absolutely. I'd also be interested in doing that because I'm assuming, that as we keep going on in this, I'm going to, get better research skills.
Right.
So, if it turns out that, we can do a podcast episode better a couple years from now or something, whatever we're doing, then yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the second Witch's Gate is on the intersection of Hatton...
Wait, it's called the same thing?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the 2 versions of that one story.
No, yeah, there's a second Witch's Gate.
Okay.
And it's on the intersection of Hatton and Hammond Roads.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah. Yeah. So do I. I know.
Yeah, okay.
So, actually, the first time I did not process it, and then I figured it out. So there's 2 different reasons why it's called Witch's Gate as well. One is because it's on the land that's owned by the same people who owned the first Witch's Gate. And there's this metal railing because the roads intersect not at a perfect 90-degree angle. It's kind of like a tilted X. And the way it works is there's a ditch at the like, edge of the X. And so there's a metal rail that blocks that ditch. And when you're speeding down this road, it looks like you're going to run into the rail, but you're actually going to go towards the actual road. But if you're driving at night and you're going really fast, it looks like you're going to crash. So,
yeah, that sounds very confusing.
Yeah, that's the entire reason it's called the Witch's Gate, according to some people. But the second story behind this Witch's Gate is, that railing that I told you about?
Yes.
A young couple parked their car behind the railing to, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you know? You know?
No, Zoe, I don't know what you're talking about. Please elaborate.
They wanted to fornicate. Yes. So, apparently while they were getting hot and heavy, a man in an all-black outfit knocked on their window. They opened the door for some reason.
Why would you open the door?
Exactly. And then the man just calmly killed them both.
Where was the Zodiac at this point?
Not here.
Okay.
And then all they found was a bloody hook hanging from the railing. So if you were in Tumblr in 2011, like I was, this is the classic man door, hand hook, car door story.
Wait, okay, I'm sorry. I joined in 2012, which was the super Hulakian phase. So
Yes.
what is the man hook hardcore car?
The man door, hard hook, car door story is a very, very bad green text version of the hook. Have you heard of do you know what green text is?
I have no idea what you just said on any level.
Okay. So green text is, there's this very awful website called 4chan. It's worse than Reddit.
I've heard of it.
Okay. That's a joke for all of our lovely Redditors out there.
We referenced Reddit last episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, so 4chan basically has no moderation, and I actually have a very traumatic experience with it that I'll share at a later date.
Okay.
That would get us way off the rails. But there are some parts of 4chan that are genuinely hilarious. Mm-hmm. And, so green text is basically people tell a story and it's formatted in a weird way and it usually has green text. And so this person was telling the hook story and it was just so unintelligible that the last sentence was literally man, door, hand, hook, car, door. And it's like, what? You think that's a sentence?
So like a person wrote this.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were telling the hook story, which is apparently this story as well. But honestly, like, the hook story is so overdone. Like, it's even in Supernatural.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with the idea of the hook guy.
I'm just gonna real quick give a brief explanation. But basically, it involves a young cuddle.
A young cuddle.
Yeah.
In a car. They're just cuddling.
Yeah, they're just cuddling.
Yeah, that's nice.
A young couple cuddling in their car. And the radio's playing and suddenly there's like a news bulletin saying like a prison breakout happened or an insane asylum breakout happened. And then the girl's always like, maybe we should leave. And he's like, no, we shouldn't. And in some iterations of the story, they see a figure and the boy gets out to go like hunt it down. And he ends up dying.
Why would you go and hunt it down? You're in a car. Just leave.
Yeah. So there's some stories that like end with her finding just a hook above the door or on the door. Or there's some versions where she finds her boyfriend's bloody body on this roof. I believe the Supernatural episode used the iteration where the whole night she ends up sleeping in the car. And the whole night she hears like this noise on the roof of the car and it freaks her the fuck out, right? And in the morning she gets out of the car and looks up and it turns out that her boyfriend was literally hanging above the car dead and what she was hearing was the sound of his nails scraping on the top of the car door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that young couple, people claim to see them standing behind the railing at night.
Okay, so this is a specific place.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm not entirely sure that the story is real.
Yeah.
Because it's a common story you know, and it's found in multiple places.
Found in multiple places. I mean, it could always be, like, a thing where there was an originator, and then, like, as stories get passed on, maybe you think of the green text version before the green text version happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, somebody would be like, oh, I don't want to say it happened in Texas because we're in Nevada and nobody's going to care, so I'm going to say it's in Nevada now. You know, where somebody heard the story and they just changed the location.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the witches number 2.
Okay.
Then the third story, well, technically the fourth if I count Pinky's Bridge, or ditch, or whatever.
Pinky's Cave?
Yeah, that one. So this is the Screaming Shelia Bridge.
Ooh, I like this.
So there's 3 different stories that people, like, if you went and you talked to 3 different people and you're like, what happened at the Screaming Shelia Bridge, they'd give you these 3 different stories. Like, some people believe this one, some people believe this one, you know, it's all dependent on who you talk to. So, but in all these stories, the woman is named Sheila.
That tracks.
The Screaming Shelia Bridge is also private property, so please do not trespass. 5 miles from Clara, which is a ghost town.
I love the name Clara.
I know you do.
You do?
I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, but it's a mostly burned down bridge. So, one story says that in the mid-1800s, Sheila was a woman accused of being a witch, and so the people of Clara burned her down on the bridge.
Wait, why would... That's a really poor... You need the bridge for transportation. Why would you choose to burn somebody on the bridge?
I don't know, but that's why they chose to burn her.
Is the bridge crossable after that, or no?
No, it's a danger to go on the bridge.
That was a really stupid thing to do to your infrastructure.
Exactly.
Pick a field. I don't know.
So I feel like that one's the least likely because I believe that the bridge was actually built after the mid-1800s.
Oh yeah, that would
But
take the point.
There are some people who think that this is a location that has had a bridge multiple times.
Oh.
They believe in all 3 stories, and they say, like, it keeps being rebuilt, and after the 3rd story, they just stopped building it, essentially.
Okay, I'm going to go into it with that frame of mind, and then see if I stay at that frame of mind at the end.
Okay. And then the 2nd story, and all of these were brief because I couldn't find much information about them. But in the 1970s, a couple were driving down the road and they had an argument that caused the husband to crash the car. The wife's legs were pinned, so the husband hitchhiked back to the police department and burn it. But by the time they came back, the fuel had leaked and the bridge, the car, and the wife had all burned.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And so she burned alive.
She burned alive,
and that
stuck in that car. Yeah, that's another Sheila.
Okay.
And then the 3rd one was a man found out that his wife was cheating on him. So he and a few buddies got drunk. They grabbed her, took her to the bridge, beat and tortured her, and then tied her to the bridge and burned her alive.
Okay. I have a thought about the 2nd story that ties into the 3rd story.
Okay.
I don't think they are mutually exclusive stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it might have been the same woman, same man, same couple. Because think about it like this. You are in an argument with your wife. You admit to being in an argument. You drive off the road. Unfortunate things happen. It happens so much that she is pinned down, and then the gas so happens to leak and then get set on fire.
So you think, like, they purposefully set her on fire?
I think at least the husband did. Now, I don't know if other people were involved. And, okay, when I say I think, I mean I think that is a possibility. Right. And so, like, I don't want to go around, like, being like, I think this guy did that. But based off that story, like, it's kind of his word against anybody else's. And it's almost like gas doesn't spontaneously catch fire, and I'm assuming he would have turned the car off.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. If he is able to hitchhike, why are you getting a car to take you to the police station instead of taking that guy or whoever's driving it back to the car and lifting it off or having that person try to help lift it off your wife?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on how pinned she was, you know? Oh, there was another version of the story that I could only find on one website that didn't look very legit. They had, like, maybe half a paragraph of text. They said, like, it was almost like a Carrie situation, but instead of a whole thing being like, oh, we're gonna make the unpopular girl prom queen, and then we're going to pour pig's blood all over her, instead of pouring pig's blood on her and then her awakening to her supernatural powers.
So thank you for spoiling Carrie for me.
Oh, shit.
I mean, I knew about, like, the pig's blood, and I knew there was something about supernatural powers. I didn't know the timeline of it.
Well, yeah, that happened. So instead of that happening, they elected her prom queen, then took her to this bridge and set her on fire alive. So
God, people are like, I mean, if that happened, that is so cruel.
Yeah. Not entirely sure that's legit, you know.
Well, yeah.
But in all these stories, like I said, the woman's name is Sheila, and when people are on this bridge, you can hear her screaming, and some say that they can hear a woman reciting spells when they're near this bridge. And then you can also feel a burning sensation all over your body as if you're standing too close to a fire.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I got chills.
And then, I wanted to throw this in real quick. One of the theories for how the bridge burned down was a bunch of teenagers just had a bonfire party and it got out of hand. And,
I mean, to be honest, that is probably pretty likely.
Yeah. But I do want to share this one thing for you. We may have to pause recording because we are recording on my computer. But I want to share EVPs. Do you know what EVPs are?
Yes, I do, but why don't we explain for our audience?
Okay, so these are electronic voice phenomenons. So there's 2 different types of EVPs.
I didn't know that.
So they actually have, like, grades on them, too. And, so the highest grade one is one that you hear in the moment. So EVPs are basically ghost voices caught on tape. And you can have a spirit box, which is basically a box that will, like, tune between radio stations really quickly, automatically. And if you can hear the ghost's voice in person, live, when you're using that. And that's, like, the highest grade EVP because you're talking to them. Like, it's the most believable.
Yeah, because if the voice stays around for longer than, like, a split second, then it's not the radio station you're hearing.
Right. And it goes down to, in grades, the next one would be one that you don't hear in person, like you're doing a recording and you don't hear in person, but when you go to watch the recording back or listen to it, you hear voices on the recording. And from there, the highest grade is something where you would hear somebody go, "I like pizza." And it's, like, very clearly, "I like pizza." And with the lowest grade being you hear and somebody going, "Oh, they said they like pizza."
And that's, like, the one that you hear the most, which is, like, I don't like it when they have, like, captions about what they're saying, because I'm, like, I want to know, I want to be able to think for myself, what is this person saying without being told? Because, like, the thing is, if you see the caption, then you're like, okay, that's what they said.
You're thinking it, yeah.
At this point, Robin and I listen to the EVPs. If you want to listen to them yourselves, they are linked in the description, and they are on our website at hauntedhospitality.wordpress.com. So go check them out there, and our reactions are coming up.
So those were the EVPs. A lot of them are, like, kind of garbled gook, but there was one that was very, very clearly somebody saying "friend."
Yeah, and, you know, I was surprised because I think because it's Sheila's Screaming Bridge, I was expecting the voice to sound like a woman or like a shriek, but it sounded very, it was a man, yeah.
Yeah, and a couple of the other garbly gooks, like, you couldn't understand what they were saying, but you could definitely hear a voice. It was, like, a masculine voice.
Yeah.
Unless
what?
She was screaming because she was being burned alive and damaged her lungs.
I mean, that is true. But would your voice sound like that, though? I don't know. Actually, it's
well, if it's being translated through a spirit box, probably.
That's a good point. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it for Sheila's Screaming Bridge. So the next one's the Old Insane Asylum. It's also known as the White Sanitarium because it was opened in 1926 by Frank S. White. He was, like, the overseeing doctor. And so it was actually kind of revolutionary, the place itself, because it believed that mental patients shouldn't be, like, cooped up in their cells the whole time. So it had an open floor plan where the beds were only separated by curtains.
But is that good either? Because, like...
yeah.
Okay.
But it had a lot of, like, outdoor areas and all of that. Like, they had... it's It sat on 13.5 acres of land. It had walking paths, stables with horses, farming, all sorts of outdoor activities. Dr. White actually lived in a building on the campus, so it wasn't in this main building. And it was a 2-floor building, and each floor was over 4,000 square feet. And it was an open concept, like I said, except for the bathroom on each floor, and then a kitchen on the first floor.
Okay. Wait, they only had one bathroom on each floor?
Yeah.
Woo.
Well, I think it was like a men and women's on each floor.
Where like it's more than just you're waiting for one person to get off the toilet.
Right, yeah.
Okay, because I would go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, like I said, it was opened in 1926. It shut down sometime between 1935 and 1955. The records were very unclear on what year it actually shut down. So it was up and operating somewhere between 9 and 29 years. Big difference.
There is a big difference. Why did it shut down? Do we know?
Well, when Dr. White passed away, it wasn't upkept as well as it could have been. And then there was a flood in the area, and it just kind of was the final nail in the coffin kind of thing.
But
Exactly. Yeah.
we talk about death a lot.
Yeah. So there's also, while it was like considered the most advanced technologically, like it was, open concept, they're humans, we're also going to do lobotomies and electroshock therapy, yay. So it's not the worst, but it's definitely not the best.
I mean, I've heard, and I do not know to what degrees, but I know that people like still sometimes do electroshock therapy, like but you voluntarily choose to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know the science behind it or anything, but lobotomies are really bad.
Yeah.
Don't do lobotomies.
Yes. This one didn't have a lot of history that I could find, but I could find a lot about ghosts. So, there was one person who claimed that she saw ghosts of men sitting around a table and playing cards.
That's fun for them.
Yeah.
That's a good afterlife.
Yeah. You can hear a woman calling out, hello, and you can hear children laughing and screaming.
Okay, like screaming is in like scared, or screaming is in we're playing?
I think both.
It's so hard to tell the difference.
Yeah. There's been several times I'm like, that's joyous screaming, right?
Thank you. Yeah, sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, this seems fine. This seems fine. But like, you have to make sure. I'm like,
that's a giggle. That's a giggle in the middle of those shrieks. Yeah. So, and then you can also hear old bike horn, like an old bike horn occasionally.
Okay.
I don't know where that came from. But things will turn up missing, and then it will be right back where it originally was a couple days later. So it would be like, I put this can of soda down, I turned my back, and I turned back around, and it's gone. And then 2 days later, I come back, and it's just sitting there.
Okay.
That will happen frequently. There's no power to the building. Well, there is now. It's now a, like, apartment complex or something like that. A residential area.
Really?
They renovated it, yeah.
Okay.
For a good period, there wasn't any power to the building, but you could still see lights through the window, and you'll see, like, lights are on through the window if you're watching from the field or something. And then if you go in, you're not supposed to, but if you go in, your fully charged electronics will lose power until they're dead.
So it's like maybe the building sucking up the power?
Or the ghosts are. Like, because spirits can take energy from you. Who says they can't take energy from an electronic device, you know?
Oh, that makes sense, because in a previous story I did hear, there was like a one-off of that kind of story, and I was like, I'm not going to mention it, but okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. There'll be rushes of cold air, like it's like going through you. And then there's a lady in white that will roam the halls and the yards.
That's the drinking game we need. Every time we mention a
lady in white,
just take if you want to, and you're legal, take a shot.
Yeah, if you're illegal, take a shot of water.
Yeah, hydrate.
Yeah.
We should really be drinking water while we do this.
Looking at your 2 LaCroix and 1 coffee cup and my 1 Diet Coke and 1 Diet 7-Up.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then, so this one was really cool. People will see floating, glowing ends of cigarettes. Like, they'll just see, like, the embers of cigarettes just floating just all over the place like fireflies, just floating.
Wait, okay. What could that possibly... Could that possibly be like a orb or something?
Yeah, maybe it could be. There was actually this group called the TRIPP Paranormal Research Group, and they spent time there overnight before it was like renovated. And there's a video I can show you, and I can link to it, where it's a recording. It doesn't look that interesting unless you know what spirit orbs look like. Before I knew what a spirit orb was, I thought a spirit orb was like the size of a bowling ball, glowing, slowly moving, ominous thing. But since I've done more research into this, it's like itty bitty, like tiny pixies floating around. Like, it's tiny balls of light, tiny balls.
So that could be considered a cigarette. And
in the video, it looks like it's just like a bug reflecting light and it's flying around, but the TRIPP Paranormal Research Group says that there weren't any bugs on the scene, which is like, okay, you're in
I mean, we can say
Texas
there's no bugs here
night.
now,
Yeah.
but like...
There's probably a bug or two.
Yeah, exactly. There's always assume there's a bug or two.
Yeah, but I can show you the video. It's kind of cool looking.
Please do.
There is a second video where she's trying to play the flashlight game. Do you know the flashlight game?
Isn't it that, like, you ask it to turn it on,
right?
But it's, like, hovering between on and off, and then...
Yeah, essentially. So you unscrew you have it on, but you unscrew the light bulb just enough so that the battery connection, like, you'd have to touch it just a little bit to turn it on. And so she was trying to play the flashlight game with a ghost. She was asking it questions, but like it was pretty complex questions. Usually when you play the flashlight game, it's like yes or no questions, but she was like, what does it feel like now that you're in the afterworld? And it's like,
what was it supposed to do? Do it in Morse code?
I know, right? Yeah, so I'm not going to show you that video, but
I would like to see
the first one.
Yeah.
And there's also more EVPs. So again, I'll link it at www.hauntedhospitality.wordpress.com.
You know, I don't think we have to say the www part. I think that's understood by this point in the internet.
https://www.hauntedhospitality.wordpress.com.
I really hope one day we can take the WordPress out of there.
WordPress.
That's what I said.
I understood you as take the word press out of there. Like, you want to be hauntedhospitality.word.com?
That was a weird way to
Listen. Okay.
I like the ingenuity it took, though.
But anyway. So one thing before I show you this is that there have been reports of crazy looking apparitions in hospital gowns. How one defines a crazy looking person, I can only think of stereotypes.
Yeah, and I get out of here with your stereotypes of mental health. Get out of here.
Exactly. You know? Yeah. So, and I could only find one person saying that, so, I'm
judging that person.
I'm judging them too.
Okay, great.
All right.
Second verse, same as the first. At this point, I just show Robin the video and the EVPs, and we're going to talk about it now.
So we just saw the video of the spirit orbs and listened to the EVPs. What did you think about the EVPs?
I thought the EVPs sounded a lot more clear and a lot more buried than EVPs you typically hear in these types of things. Because, like, usually if it's an EVP, it'll be very garbled, usually very masculine, which, like, often mimics the sound of the spirit box.
Right.
You know? But there were some masculine ones.
And then my name is Michael. Yeah. That's not my name.
Yeah, there was this other one where it was like a really echoey child sing-songy that said what Zoey said just now. And that was really... Oh, and then the one that was the creepiest was when it sounded like a child, maybe the same child, saying, "Grandma, he hurt me."
Yeah. And
that was... I mean, that's disturbing, but also...
Especially in an insane asylum.
Oh, that makes me sad. It's disturbing, but it is also like a very... In terms of EVPs, it's a very good EVP. Mm-hmm. Now the orb, though, is a slightly... See, like, this is... Okay, so I'm not a ghost hunter. I'm just a person who likes ghostly things, okay? But I like the idea of going to a place and searching for these types of phenomenon, okay? To see, like, if you can pick up anything on camera, because, like, what if you're the first person to definitively pick up a ghost? You know, it's fun.
Right.
But then you got these people who are like, look at this fly who is just in the camera for a split second, and there's no way you can say that there was no bugs.
Yeah, you can't, like, especially in an old place. Like, if you were in a lockdown, sealed, you know, facility, then I could say, okay, there's no bugs. But this is an old sanitarium. People have been going in and out. There's probably a window open somewhere. There's probably cracks in the walls. It was shut down because of a flood, you know?
Yeah.
There's no way there's no bugs at this scene.
Exactly. And, like, okay, people, if you're going to, like, go there and come up with these pieces of evidence or, like, experience these pieces of evidence, don't just, like, point to a weird little flick in the camera.
Right.
Because then it's just going to look fake and you're going to look fake. And, like, these people picked up some actually great EVPs.
Like, the horn honking, that was so clear.
That was so clear. But, like, then...
And then the Ronald, yes.
Exactly. But then, like, if you're going... Okay, I'm looking at them. And if they're going around and also being like, look at this little fly, it hurts their credibility with me. Even if they find great stuff, I'm like, okay, fine, maybe you found great stuff, but I don't believe in your qualifications for what you think is right, you know? Like, I don't have faith in you. Maybe I have faith in, like, if you recorded something really cool. But, I mean, I don't know. That credibility just kind of shot for me. I don't like it.
Yeah. So... But that was the old White Insane Asylum. So I did have another one, but I was like, no, I'm not going to include that one. And so the last one is going to be the Goat Man. So...
Wait, there's no way this is like Goatman's Bridge, like BuzzFeed Unsolved, right?
Yes, it is Goat
Oh
Man's
my god!
Bridge.
That was in Wichita?
So the thing is that there's actually 2 Goatman bridges right next to each other. One is in Wellington Lane, and the other one is in Denton, Texas. And so with the Wellington Lane one, I found this one story of a experience there, and the Denton, Texas one, which is right next door to Wichita, I found the history behind it. So I don't know, like, exactly, but I think these are both really cool, and I really want to go into them. So
go into them.
So even though the Denton, Texas one, okay, cool's not the right word, but the Denton, Texas one I would like to explore.
Interesting.
So the Wichita one, there's apparently a half-man, half-goat monster that lives under a bridge on Wellington Lane. People have reported seeing the eyes of the goat man peeking from under the bridge at night.
I mean, just imagine that.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And they say that he has growled at them, too. So apparently there was, like, a satanic cult nearby, and they would use that bridge as a dumping ground for all of their sacrificial animals.
That's making the previous story I did make so much more sense.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into it because it's a different episode, but okay.
Yeah. So, basically, they dumped so many animal bodies at this area because they lived in the area and they were infused with cult energies, like satanic energies, that some say that the area was so concentrated that it spawned the demonic creature.
Okay.
That's their origin of the goat man, is what they say. Is like, it's a man basically put together from the flesh of the sacrificed animals.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I'm over here thinking, like, man, that's a good story. I mean, it's creepy as all get out, but, like, if you're talking about origin stories, be like, we created a demon.
Yeah, and it's actually...
You don't hear that every day.
It's a lot more fun story to tell than the other version. So,
no. Okay.
I'll get to that. That's the
Yeah.
Denton version. Content warning, KKK.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, there's other stories that say that they will see a big white dog that refuses to move. And the only reason I include this is because of this next sentence. They will get out of their cars to, like, shoo the dog away because it's on the bridge and they're trying to drive across. But by the time between them in the car and out of the car, the dog's gone. And so they look around for it, and all they can find is a bloody carcass under the bridge.
Carcass of what?
Nobody has said.
Is it the dog?
I'm guessing that they find the bloody carcass of a dog under the bridge. But I'm like, what monster sees a dead dog and isn't like, oh no, let's take it to the vet, see if it's okay, you know, like.
I mean, if
okay, a bloody carcass.
If it's like a bloody, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but like
I'd be able to tell.
Yeah, I don't know it, but there's this one story. I'm taking a page out of your book and I'm gonna read from her story. Because the way she phrased it, I was, like, shivering. Like, I was in, oh, okay. So, I used to cross that bridge almost every day, and I never experienced anything unnatural until last week, that is. And I still can't make sense of what happened, really. It was around 11 at night, and I decided it was time to crawl into bed. I turned the TV on, and I slowly drifted off to sleep. And when I woke up, I was standing in my nightgown in the middle of the bridge. I was shocked, needless to say. I looked around, but nobody seemed to be with me. So I began the jog home and tried my hardest not to freak out about the situation. I began to feel more normal 2 days later when I chalked it up to sleepwalking. I used to do that as a child, and I hadn't sleepwalked in 10 years. I had a history. I told myself that it happened because I had been so stressed out at work. It was the following night when it happened again. I suddenly came to, and there I was, standing in the middle of the bridge again. Only this time, I didn't feel alone. I couldn't see anybody, but I felt this presence, this tall and dark presence that did not feel human in the slightest. I looked all around me, and I didn't see anything on the bridge. That's when I took a deep breath and looked down at my feet. There, it looked like two glowing yellow eyes looking up at me. They weren't the eyes of some animal, simple. It was as if I was staring into the eyes of another human, and that human expressed all of his hatred for me in his pupils.
Oh my god.
I immediately screamed and began to run home. When I plucked up the courage to look behind me, I saw a tall, dark silhouette standing exactly where I had been just moments before. The experience was so frightening and so vivid. Now, whenever I travel around Wichita Falls, I find other routes to use entirely.
Wow.
That freaked me out reading it. And, like, I was sitting there reading it, I was, like, enthralled, and then Kari walks in, and I'm like, ugh! Oh, my gosh.
Imagine, because, like, okay, that's such an odd description. Imagine, like, looking down and then seeing eyes, especially with the juxtaposition of, like, you're looking down and you're seeing these yellow eyes, which is obviously the reason that you didn't feel like you were alone. But it comes from having described the feeling like somebody was tall, looming around you. But it's
under you.
I got chills. I got chills.
Yeah, and imagine you just look down and between the, like, boards of a bridge, you just see eyes staring back at it. Like, that's the reason I refuse to look out of windows at night, because I'm afraid to see eyes looking back at me.
I am really scared of looking out windows at night. I've been scared to do that ever since we saw, what is it called? The Woman in Black with Daniel Radcliffe.
Which wasn't even that scary of a movie.
I was terrified. That was also, like, our first movie together. Like, our first haunted movie together.
Right.
Yeah.
There's 2 more stories, but these take place in Denton, Texas. The ghost hauntings is basically the same, but it has the different origin that has the KKK.
Okay.
To preface this, there's no record of this person existing. However, it takes place in, like, the late 1800s, early 1900s. So, I mean, record keeping wasn't exactly the best back then. And also, this is a black man and his family. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, you know, who's keeping records, you know?
Yeah.
So this man named Oscar Washburn was a black man, and he was known to the community for selling good quality goat cheese, milk, meat, and hides. He and his family tended their goats, and there was even a sign on the bridge saying "This way to the Goat Man." So everybody called it the Goat Man Bridge because you had to cross that bridge to get to the Goat Man.
Okay.
The local KKK chapter was very angry at his success and his well-known because he was a black man, and so he wasn't allowed to be successful.
Yeah.
So they gathered a lynch mob and stormed his house. They dragged him out. They tied a noose around his neck and threw him off the bridge.
So he would be hanging.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But then they went underneath the bridge to basically cut the body down and parade it through town, I'm guessing. Basically to revel in their success.
Yeah.
And they found that Oscar wasn't in the noose, and he hadn't fallen into the river either. So there was the river was still. There was no way he was in the river. So they couldn't find him. So, upset that they couldn't find his body, they go back to his house where his wife and his children were and burned it to the ground.
With, I'm assuming, the family
inside.
Okay.
So they say that the goat man is Oscar's ghost, and he reappears at night seeking revenge of the cowards that tried to kill him. Successfully, maybe? I don't know. There's a supernatural entity to it, you know?
Well, yeah, because the body disappeared.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So they either killed him or they didn't. But he comes back with a goat head, and he seeks revenge on the people who tried to kill him. And they also say that there is a woman who haunts the same area, and they believe it's Oscar's wife looking for her children and husband.
Okay.
So they think both of the couples haunt the area. And then there was a third origin story where the goat man was not Oscar Washburn, but this man named Jack Kendall. He was described as a Creole slave goat herder.
Okay.
And a group of cowboys lynched him and hung him from a tree. But when they hung him, his head separated from his body. His body stood up, walked over to a goat, tore its head off, and put it on its own shoulders. And the cowboys ran away in terror. And, he's now the one haunting the bridge because he's looking for the people who dare to lynch him.
So those stories are so similar to each other.
Right.
I wonder if it's the truth is maybe a combination.
Right. Yeah. Or nothing at all, you know?
Or nothing at all. Huh.
Yeah. So those are the 3 origin stories of the Goat Man.
And is this the one that BuzzFeed Unsolved did?
I did not see the BuzzFeed. I'm only aware of the scene of the goofy dancing on the bridge and saying, "Come get me, Goat Man."
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Or actually not specifically that, but yeah.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about with the goofy one.
Yeah, the white one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are my stories. I know I probably ran a little bit long today because I think the first recording was about 45 minutes and now we're at 16 minutes. But nothing I can't cut out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all those stories, actually.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for listening. And those at home, thank you for listening as well.
If you liked this episode, please subscribe, and review. I'm trying to remember all our things. We are available wherever you can get your podcasts. If you want to send us feedback or your own ghost stories, you can email us at
hauntedhospitalitypodcast@gmail.com, and you can send us ideas for something Southern as well.
Yes, please do that.
And if you know a Southern story that you'd like us to cover, please send it. You can also find us at hauntedhospitality.wordpress.com.
Yes. And if you want to join us in the social media sphere, you can find us on Instagram at Haunted Hospitality or on Twitter at Haunted Hosts, because they would not let me fit in all the 18 characters I needed, and it hurt me. And stay spooky.